Hi, I'm Richard Mize, real estate editor for the Oklahoman. I'm here today with the leadership of the Central Oklahoma Homebuilders Association to talk about a little bit about the housing market in Oklahoma City, north and south, and east and west, and home building, and the association itself. I'm with Jeff Click, the president of the association, Jim Schuff, and Mark Dale, who are vice presidents. But first, I want to point out the association finds itself in an unusual and I'd say fortunate situation this year with having the experience of Mark Dale among the officers. He was the president in 1990 and will be the president in 2010 in a year. So he brings both of those experiences together already on the board, but next year as the leader. So that's what I'd like to talk about first. If you could compare and contrast the marketplace when you were president 20 years ago and what we're all dealing with here today.
Well, the downturn we had 20 years ago was somewhat localized. It was germane to several states in the central part of the country, oil-producing states for the most part. The rest of the nation was insulated from it. This year, we're in almost the exact opposite situation. The problem is very nationalized, East Coast, West Coast. We really don't have the conditions here that led to all this downturn nationwide. Now, net result is the same. We have to be very careful not to have too much inventory on the market at any one time, or we'll see our prices collapse and our businesses go away.
We were talking earlier, which is worse, to have too little inventory or too much?
Well, anybody needs to err on the side of having too little inventory right now. If we come out of this and things get better, or if people wake up locally and recognize that these conditions are okay here to buy a house, having too little inventory can be cured pretty quickly. Having too much could be devastating.
Interest rates were radically different, weren't they, 20
Unbelievably
years ago?
different.
So talk about that a little bit.
Well, at that point in time, it was so difficult to maintain any of the borrowings that you had at that point in time. Rates were so high, and so difficult to move product because the consumer couldn't get an interest rate that was affordable compared to their income. Now we have wonderful interest rates, and if people have good jobs and steady incomes, there's no reason not to step out and buy a house.
And the interest rate affects you as a builder as well as the end user, the home buyer, because of construction loan rates. They don't parallel exactly, but there's some correlation.
There is some correlation, and they're down now as well, although not too many of us are looking to borrow any more than we have to right now.
Talk about buyer attitudes 19, 20 years ago and today. How are they different or the same?
Locally, 20 years ago, they simply couldn't buy. They didn't have the jobs or the interest rates were too high. Now it's more a matter of consumer confidence, and the more they get bombarded from national media that things are bad, don't buy, they're sitting and riding the fence when maybe they have the capacity to step up and do something, and it's an awfully good time to do that.
A year from now, when you're in his seat, what do you think the marketplace will be like? And I know you don't have a crystal ball, but do you have any idea of what to expect?
There's going to be a little bit of local washout here, some people that were overextended, so we'll be a little leaner. I think we'll come out of it much faster than the rest of the country. If you've seen some of the stories in California and Florida and Arizona, it's going to take a long time for them to get rid of their inventory. We're not going to have that problem here.
Jim, what's the South Side perspective? Is there anything that's similar or rather different among South Side builders and those neighborhoods and buyers than there is across the metro as a whole?
I think they're very similar. Some of the homes down there are smaller. Some of the ones that we're building in the Moore area, at least, are smaller, and that probably targets those people that are shooting for that $8,000 tax credit.
Have you seen much
first-time buyers?
Have you seen much response from that? That's mainly, it seems to be geared toward an existing home or used home market, as y'all like to call it, but it does, because of our affordable marketplace here, it does apply to some new homes too, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it applies to any price level, but it would seem to be targeted more to the moderate priced homes.
Yeah, I definitely think it's $150,000 to $200,000 homes. That's where we're seeing the most people, the first-time buyers, come out. And this last weekend, where we really started to get a lot of questions about it this weekend.
Talk about materials costs a little bit. It's funny, in Oklahoma City, a production home builder is a blip to Dallas or Chicago or Denver, but you're up there in the top 4 or 5, I think, aren't you, in terms of volume? And so you're buying for more units at a time, or planning or contracting for more units at a time than these guys are. as a custom builder, upscale custom builder, and you do both. How has that changed in the past year? Gas prices were choking everybody a year ago. Cement prices at some point were a lot higher than they are now. Name some materials and talk about how they've
Well, of course, I'd have to begin with roofing. I don't think anybody in the Oklahoma City area could deny that they haven't seen a lot of roofing going on with the hailstorms and everything else. So, of course, roofing prices have gone up. Supply and demand there. We just got notices that concrete's going up slightly. But for the most part, the prices have remained fairly stable. I think the gas prices going down helped that a little bit. And I have had a lot of my suppliers call me asking me what I project for this year. How many do I think I'm going to do? Because it's helping them figure out how much they need to order, how much they need to buy.
Richard, I have noticed that when gas prices were increasing, almost everybody that delivers product to a job sent us a fuel surcharge.
Right.
And I'm real pleased to say that most of them have come back and taken them off.
Well, good.
We always wondered if they ever would, and they just leave it in there. So that's been a good sign.
And good for them. Jeff, it's sort of a Dickensian, as in Charles Dickens, period, I think, to be president of the Central Oklahoma Homebuilders Association. The market has been better, but at the same time, it's the best of times as well as the worst of times. In some other ways, and I'm leading obviously to your new headquarters. Talk about that, where it's going to be, who designed it, how it's going to be different from what you've had in the past, and just kind of update us if you would. So.
Well, our new headquarters has been designed by architect Michael McCoy, and it's certainly been the fruits of his efforts combined with all of the cooks in the kitchen, if you will. He's joked, and I certainly concur with the challenge he's faced about, stepping into this opportunity to design something of that magnitude, but having so many people giving their input and expertise towards it. But we're very excited about the concept that we've developed with him. It's a campus approach as opposed to a single building. We're going to have one facility that will host our offices and our educational facility. And then, of course, many people are familiar with our previous location, which was known as a banquet facility here in the city. We are also going to have that banquet facility developed into another building, and they'll be attached by a common courtyard and walkway.
There was some desire to make it look kind of like a house, too, wasn't it?
Yes, that's been a conversation we've had in the association. We obviously want to be true to our roots and what we do best, and so I think you'll see in the outcome that there's certainly some nice nods towards that residential style.
When's it going to start?
We are actually gearing up to pull permits, so we hope to be within construction in the next 45 to 60 days.
And where is it again?
It is just north of us, right here on the corner of it's Britton and Kelly, correct?
Yeah. Britton and Broadway Extension.
Britton and Broadway Extension, yeah.
Right, just east of Broadway Extension, on the south side of Britton, isn't it?
Correct, yes.
And just east of the old Pubco building. Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. There you have it, a snapshot of Oklahoma City housing and the home building business from the leadership of the Central Oklahoma Home Builders Association. I'm Richard Mize with the Oklahoman.